See if I can actually get through this without yawning as well.
It'll be that's your challenge for this one.
That is the challenge for this one. Yeah, going to bed at 1:45 in the morning is not something I recommend. It's fortunately it's not something I do very often at all.
Just
But
reminded you that you're not a youth anymore, Will.
I'm not 17. Mentally, I'm 17. Physically, I am 44. I've got to remind myself of this.
Yeah.
It was a good it was a good mini festival. Although I was corrected quite a few times. Kept saying it's a festival, but it's actually a bike rally that have got live music to raise money for charity. So, and I've still,
Well, still got your wristband. That's a festival wristband though.
yeah, it's a festival wristband. It's a proper one. Normally they get, the cheap kind of ones that take
Got the
round.
papery. Yeah.
They've gone all out this year for these. So, and I'm going to do the usual trick of probably keep it on for about 6 months until it gets too smelly. And
That's like a fancy festival wristband.
it is, it
There you
is.
go. Fancy.
Cool. Right, you've got the questions.
I do indeed. We'll get to them. First one is, do I need an electrolyte drink after a gym session? Is there any benefit to this?
I mean, we were,
If only you could see Will's face.
we were sort of, you know what? I think an electrolyte might do me some good. Um, After the sort of copious amounts of alcohol. It's not. It's one of those things that it's not going to do you any harm, generally, but it's also not necessarily something that you're going to get masses of benefit from.
Mm.
So an electrolyte drink effectively is it's normally it's a powder or a tablet you put in water, and it contains a load of minerals and salts that we might lose from our body if we've done vigorous exercise, so we sweat a lot, or we're dehydrated, we can kind of miss some of these kind of minerals. And you can stick it in the water and you drink it. And it's the idea is it's a little bit like the isotonic drinks that you can
Yeah.
get. So it's to try and hydrate you, rehydrate you, and replenish your mineral levels that you might be low on. The one thing I would say that for most people, if you like them, if you want them because you like the flavor and it's something that will encourage you to drink more water, then absolutely give it a go. If it's something that you think you need to, but you know, you don't need to, because most of us, especially if we're going into a gym, we're not going to be sweating quite enough to kind of deplete those kind of mineral amounts in our body. But sometimes they could be beneficial. I would say that they're quite. Some of them could be quite expensive. You go and get like
Mm.
a tube of say 10 for about
Yeah.
5 quid. So they're not the cheapest. You're looking at maybe 50p a tablet. Whereas actually just drinking some water is
We'll
going to
do the same thing. Yeah.
it's going to hydrate you, and then maybe water with a little bit of table salt in it, just to give you some of those electrolytes, some of those minerals. That's about
Yeah.
all. The only other thing I would say is that we probably consume too much salt in this country as a general sort of thing. If your diet is particularly if you are consuming processed foods, some processed foods, and it could be
Yeah.
healthy processed foods, but there are some foods that are quite high in salt. And the recommendation is, I believe, 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day, which is about 4 to 6 grams of salt, something like that. And if you take these electrolyte tablets, they're just increasing the amount of sodium you're taking. So if you're already
Yeah.
taking quite a lot of sodium just in your diet, if you salt season your food, if you are using particularly some breads have quite a lot of sodium in there. Some of the kind of snack bars can have some sodium in there as well. If you're eating quite a few of those and your salt intake's quite high, I wouldn't recommend necessarily taking an electrolyte drink. So yeah, Should you take one? No, probably not, unless you're doing sort of vigorous exercise. It can be quite pricey, so you can save yourself sort of 5 or 6 quid by not getting them. You can do the same thing yourself at home just by having some water
Mm.
and putting in a little bit of salt, or just drinking plenty of water with some squash. And then yeah, just be aware of salt intake. So I think, like you said just before we came on, they're quite popular at the moment, aren't they? They've
Yeah,
become a bit of a,
they seem to be everywhere. Um, and like there's so many different brands now, and there's loads of them out there. But like you say, the majority of people don't need them. If you are doing like training sessions that are lasting over like hour and a half, 2 hours or longer, like really long endurance sessions, then yes, that's probably when they can be helpful. If it's just your hour in the gym, like say, if you're getting salt from your foods, it's probably not a necessity.
no, no, and it's only
But
if
if
you
you want
really,
them, take them.
yeah, and it's only really if you're doing kind of vigorous exercise. So like if you're
Yeah,
doing like you're saying endurance training,
yeah.
if you're just in a gym lifting weights, no, don't need them. Cool. Question two.
So this one we will read. I'll read this one from the check-in form. My mindset has gone. So this is from one of our clients who's recently been on holiday, got back. I know you can't outtrain a bad diet, yet I've been given into sugar cravings too much this week. Help. So I guess that's partly surrounded with like getting back to a routine after being on holiday. Um, yeah, once you've sort of been surrounded by more of those tasty foods, how do you get back to your normal routine once you're back, essentially?
It is hard. I mean, there's lots of things to unpick there, especially around sugar cravings, or if you're feeling that you're craving sugar. Yeah, you've got to. I think from this client's point of view, it is just trying to get back into that routine, and making sure. Now, I know that she said on the sheet that she's prepped and planned her food.
Yeah,
That's a great start. And then she's still getting those sweet cravings. What I would recommend is to include some of those foods in, actually plan to have some of those foods, because as soon as you say, no, I can't have it, it's this whole idea of good versus bad, and you start
yeah,
what you think you can't have. So plan those things in, actually sort of say, all right, I'm going to have that small piece of chocolate in the evening, or with my coffee in the morning or something. Just plan it in so that you've got it in there. She's done the right thing by making sure she's got her meals planned and
yeah,
prepped. That's absolutely fine. And then I think the other thing is just be kind to yourself as well. Give yourself a little bit of leeway. It's tough,
yeah,
and this particular client's been absolutely on it all the way up to the
yeah,
holiday. And I think you need to also realize that you don't necessarily need to be that on it all the time. Allowing
yeah,
flexibility is a good thing. So she's kind of gone from being really nailing everything, nailing the nutrition, the workouts, absolutely 100% or 95%, going away on holiday, enjoying it. I've seen the pictures. She's had a whale of a time, um, with a family, which is great. It's exactly what she should have done.
yeah.
And then she's thinking she's got to go straight back to what it was before, and you don't need to. So
Mm,
pick your battles. I think the first thing she's done, the first thing brilliantly, food planned and prepped. That's brilliant, and she's got into the gym, so she's being active. What you've also got to remember that when you go away on holiday, yes, you're going to overconsume food, probably. It's a holiday, you make memories, you worry about memories and not necessarily what you're eating.
yeah,
But your body isn't going to store loads and loads of fat while you're away. 90% of the weight that you gain is water weight and extra food within the body, and that just drops off within a week. If you've flown as well, flying causes you to retain water, so that when you come back off holiday, it takes about a week to 10 days for everything
yeah,
to settle down again. So, just focus on the key things. So getting your meals prepped, getting your workouts in, and then concentrate on that for a week. And once you've found that, fairly comfortable, you can then start working on some of the other stuff. But I think, like I say, is don't cut the food out. Don't go, right, I can't have chocolate,
mm,
because that's just going to make you crave things even more.
yeah,
Uh, And then I think also with I think that's what needs to be done for that client, for Carrie. But I think if you're craving sweet things, you've got to look at the bigger picture.
yeah,
You know, How's your sleep? Because if your sleep isn't good, then you can be craving some of those foods every now and then. Where are you within your cycle? You know, what are your stress levels? And are there any external stresses? Those sorts of things are going to impact on what we're craving in terms of food. So
Mm.
if you've gone away from if you've gone away for a week on holiday, you know, yes, you've kind of the routine's gone, so you've got to get back into that routine. But then you're coming back in, and it's like, right, I'm tired because I've got to get back into the work
Yeah.
routine. I've probably got work to catch up with, so I'm stressed. I've got to get all the washing and the ironing done and tidying the house
Yeah.
up and all of those sorts of things. And it's like everything all at once. So that is again going to impact on the things that you want, the sweet things. So look at the wider picture, look at the bigger picture. You know, are there things around you that you can start working on as well to try and reduce some of those sweet cravings, but then ultimately plan it in.
Yeah. I think the only other thing that you did touch on is again is around that mindset of being on track or on plan and off plan. Because if you get into the mindset when you're on holiday, you're off plan, off track, however you word it, that's a mindset thing in itself. And it's how you're talking about those foods that you're having. So when you come back and think, right, I need to get back on it or back on track, back on plan, it's then, okay, that means I can't eat those foods. And then, like you say, you want them more. Whereas by giving yourself that flexibility, making sure that your diet that involves all those foods that you love so that you don't necessarily have those sweet cravings because you can have them whenever you like. It
Yeah,
takes away that power from them. So yeah, I think like I say, it's really important to just include some and think what it is that you're really going to want. Like say whether that's that chocolate bar or that dessert after dinner, whatever that might be, and include that in
yeah.
and make it work for you. Because once you take away the power from that food, you don't want it as much.
No,
You, you
it's
take away
giving
the
it is, and it's giving yourself unconditional permission to eat any food, but that doesn't mean you can eat all the food. Okay,
don't
and
have the whole packet of biscuits.
yeah,
Just have a couple.
have one
I
or
mean, I
two.
had this conversation with someone. They were saying, "How, Alice? How have you still got Easter eggs in your house? Or how can you open a packet of biscuits and just have two of them?" I'm like, "Because I can have them whenever I like. Like they're in the cupboard. If I want them, they're there. But because I know I can have them all the time, I said I've not always been like this. When I will first have me as a client, sometimes my biggest win would be eating three-quarters of a packet of biscuits instead of the whole pack because it is like they have always been my weakness. But
Yeah,
once you learn to just have them and include them every day, then they're not as exciting then, are they? Like if you want one, I'll have a couple,
and
but
it is
you take
that
away the power from that food that you have to eat all or nothing.
I think you're right there, and that is one of the biggest challenges. And it also
Mm,
goes back to obviously you've seen a lot of social media influencers at the moment with people going on holiday, and they'll sort of say, "Oh, people often ask me how I deal with going away on holiday, trying to stay on plan. I don't. I just, you know, and it's
eat
like,
what I like. All right, yeah.
and that's great. Absolutely, you can do that on holiday, but then a lot of people take that to extremes, and
Mm,
when I wouldn't expect anybody to be kind of thinking about tracking calories and macros and
no.
stuff like that on holiday. However, you know, and not saying I wouldn't want them to say no to anything because you're going on holiday for experiences and memories.
Yeah.
However, that does not mean that, you know, if you're in an all-inclusive hotel with an all-you-can-eat buffet, it doesn't mean you have to go up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times until you're sick.
Yeah.
It's this sensibility, and even on holiday, when you are allowing yourself that little bit of extra freedom, it's
Mm,
still practicing some of those skills that we constantly talk about, where we talk about
yeah.
practicing moderation, practicing to eat until you're feeling satisfied, practicing saying no to something sometimes.
Mm.
Not something that I probably didn't do very well last night, but you know, these are things that we do get it wrong. We will get
Yeah.
it. I got saying no to shots last night very horribly wrong.
Oh well.
But you know, it's something that you learn from, and
Hmm. And it was
um
an experience, and you were there, and you
yeah,
know. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and it's but then, it's when people go on holiday, it is understanding that they don't need to
Mm.
um go completely overboard. They can enjoy themselves, but listen to you, still practice some of those skills of moderation and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not tracking, that's fine. And you probably are going to overconsume and you are going to eat foods that you wouldn't normally eat, but don't eat like a dick. That's
Yeah. And it's like,
nice.
there's, yeah, 100%. And there's some that I follow on Instagram, is their podcast, Lucy Halden, Loose Over Fit.
Yeah.
And in one of their podcasts, they were talking about they go to Florida a lot, her and her partner, and people think they're strange because they'll still train on holiday. But she says that for them, that's like a mindset thing. Like they wake up and want to go for a run because they enjoy that.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying being active and you don't like sitting still, there's nothing wrong with going to the gym.
Yeah.
And they said like they'll eat whatever they like, but for example, it was Florida where all of the food's in America. So you've been recently. So I can only do that for like a day because it makes me feel like shit anyway. So
Yeah.
you don't want to be doing that all the time because actually, like you say, think how you feel the next day. Whether you've overconsumed alcohol or overconsumed food, you don't always feel good the next day. So you can still practice that moderation, enjoy those foods, but actually remember that there's still room for fruit and veg on holiday.
And then when you do come back, you don't necessarily have to be, again, it's that point you made there,
Yeah.
it's on and off it. You getting back into a routine, and that does take a little bit of time. So give
Mm.
yourself to do that, be patient, be kind, and then it'll come back. Yeah, and don't think that you are going to completely lose all the progress that you've
Yes.
made. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
People always come back from these holidays and think, oh my God, I put half a stone on. I put all the weight I've lost back on. No, you haven't.
You
It's
won't have done, yeah.
and it will come off, and you can't undo like 6 months, 12 months worth of work in a week. You just can't do it. It's not possible.
That's for fat loss and fat gain as
Yeah,
well. It works both ways. But yeah, definitely, I think some really, really good bits there.
yeah.
Um,
Last
and
question.
then the last one, yeah. How do I mean, this one I think gets asked quite a lot.
Yeah,
So it's kind of merged a few into one of how do I build muscle without gaining too much weight or looking too bulky, which, like you say, we were saying just before we came on, that's a big fear of females, isn't it? To not look bulky or not look manly, or they want to tone up, whatever this is, but not put on muscle because they're worried they won't look feminine anymore.
yeah. I mean, something that I constantly get asked in the gym, where women, they're either training for an aesthetic thing, so they want to look better, feel better, they want to be stronger, or for health or whatever. Yeah, and the response is they need to do some resistance training, because most of them are doing things like the circuit training, or they're going for runs and they're doing the cardio fitness, which is great, but they need to do some resistance training as well. And they have this whole idea that as soon as they're going to go into the gym and lift a weight, they're going to turn into the Hulk straight away. And it's like, so they have this idea that toning. I'm not going to completely rubbish that phrase, because if that's a word that people use, then let's actually use it. But
Yeah.
explain what it means. Toning up means to build muscle and then to lose the body fat over the top so that you show the muscle. That's what toning up is. And the way you do that is, and we've discussed this before, the way you do that is progressive overload with your lifting, and then having a calorie deficit for fat loss. If you're just starting in the gym, then you can do both at the same time. You can build some
Yeah.
muscle and lose fat. If you've got quite a lot of body fat to lose, then that's even more so. You can build muscle and lose fat at the same time. If you're somebody who's lean, then and it's probably I've got a couple of clients who are quite lean, and they're always
Mm.
I want to, and I want to tone up this area, or I want to tone up my arms, and I need to lose body fat. And I'm thinking, you've not actually got body fat to lose. What you've got to do is build the muscle up and fill the body out effectively.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different for them in that we kind of say, right, actually, I want you to eat at maintenance, and we're going to build muscle. So the question, how do you build muscle without gaining too much weight? Well, if you're bulking, it's still about making sure you're eating the right number of calories. This idea that you should be eating in a quite a big surplus to build muscle is old school stuff, and it certainly, I mean, it doesn't really apply to men, but it definitely doesn't apply to women. I would
Mm.
recommend no more than sort of 100 calorie surplus, maybe 150 calorie surplus. So work out what your maintenance is, and then you eat on average about 100 calories a day more than that, and then lift consistently heavy in the gym. Um, yes, you are probably going to gain a little bit of body fat because you're in a surplus, but
Yeah.
it's a small surplus, so the amount of body fat is going to be minimal. The mistake a lot of people make is that they'll think, oh, I need to be eating in a 500 calorie surplus,
Yeah.
because we have this idea of a 500 calorie deficit roughly equates to a pound a
Yeah.
week. I should be eating this much. You
Yeah.
cannot gain a pound of muscle a week. Yeah.
Yeah. We've said before, haven't we? It's a very slow process.
Slow process. So if we sort of say that, if you are lifting heavy and consistent, somewhere between a pound to a pound and a half a month, that would be kind of a good rate of muscle growth. And if you work that out, that's it's about 100 calorie a day surplus. That's what it equates to. So if you're eating in 100 calorie a day surplus and you're lifting heavy, then most of that surplus is going to go towards fueling the workout, because it's not calories that turn into muscle, it's the calories that fuel the workout which cause the adaptation to build the muscle. Okay, so that's the thing, making sure that we eat adequate protein as well. And then to make sure that you don't get too bulky, it's not going to happen overnight. This shit takes time, you
Yeah.
know, and it's I've trained consistently for 8 years, and yes, I have more muscle mass, and it is clear that I've got more muscle mass than I used to have, but I wouldn't say I'm massive or bulky. I'm certainly not like some of these bodybuilders. Um, and I can, I still want to try and grow and build. Um, but you get to a point where you think, no, I'm happy with that. And once you're at that,
Hmm.
you just maintain. You don't try and
Yeah.
put.
Just maintain. Yeah.
So, what do you do to build the muscle? Lift heavy. And then when you're happy, and it's very rare that that happens.
Yeah. Very rare.
But when you're happy, you maintain, and your goals might change as well. That's the other thing. So I follow somebody called Doc Liss, Alyssa.
Yes.
I know you
Who we
saw
met? Yeah. Last year. Yeah.
her last year. So her goals constantly change all the
Yeah.
time. Sometimes she wants to lift and build muscle. Sometimes she wants to run and do endurance events, and it'll change some gymnastics stuff as well, with flexibility and mobility, and the goals change all the time, and that's normal. So yeah, I think for women, they just need to be more. They need to be more willing to get in the gym. They need
Yeah.
to,
Don't be scared of the weight section. I
worry
think that
less.
is changing though.
It
I
is,
do think that's changing.
it is, which is great. It's great to see.
Mm.
But don't be afraid of the weight section. Don't worry about getting too bulky. It's not going to happen. And I think a lot of it is when they see these athletes and they think, oh God, they're muscular. You've got to remember that these athletes have trained pretty much their entire lives to look like that. They live
Yeah.
and breathe that kind of training. Um, and also this idea of what's feminine and what's not. That's a conversation I can have for hours and hours and hours. Personally, I find I think that some of these athletes are incredibly feminine.
Yeah.
An American rugby player, uh, I'm, I can't pronounce her name. Uh,
Iona.
yeah, I think it's Iona Mayer, isn't it? And
Yeah.
she's an absolute beast.
Yeah, rugby player. Yeah, so you can imagine she's got a lot of muscle.
A lot of muscle, but when you see some of the dresses and stuff when she was over there in France for the Olympics, she looked absolutely stunning in some of the
Mhm.
dresses when she went out.
Yeah,
I just think this whole idea of you can look feminine and still have a
she can.
considerable amount of muscle. Um, and I think for some women, actually, if they want the illusion of a nice narrow waist, build the muscles, build your glutes, build your back, gives you the
Yeah,
out figure.
Yeah. I mean, there's some incredible athletes that I follow online that are in amazing shape. They've got a lot of muscle, but they don't look manly or anything like that. And they're at, the peak of their sports. And I'm like, you're someone to admire, for that, for what your body can do. And not one part of that is anyone looking at them thinking, yeah, but you look like a man. I'm looking at them thinking, what you do is incredible. And no part of it I'm thinking, but you look a bit manly. Like that's just, it doesn't come into it, does it? And yeah, again, it's that mindset of muscles don't make us manly. I think it's come from that, like say again, that old school bodybuilding where the only people that used to hit the weights in the gym were the bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in the gym, getting big, stepping on stage with these massive muscles, and that's not the case anymore. There's so many more women training, and it is really good to see. And it's not going to make you bulk out or look like a man.
And it just makes me laugh when you see some of these the guys who make unwarranted comments on some of the posts
Yeah.
underneath, the comments that they put underneath, and I'm thinking small man syndrome. It really is.
My favorite thing is outlifting men at the gym, and I know I shouldn't say it, but it makes you feel good. So, and like I said, it's probably the ones that are commenting, they're just jealous that you're stronger than them. So, I'd
Absolutely,
say keep building muscle.
absolutely. Keep building it. I've noticed you're wearing your
My
MM.
one of four. My one of four. My new top that came yesterday. I've got my folder on my desk. We are ready to go.
Yeah. So yeah, Alice is just
Is it?
she's signed wrong side. Alice is
Wrong side. Wrong side.
this
Where
one.
am I? There
So
it is. Your little logo. Yeah.
we're going to have
Yeah.
two MNU certified
We
nutrition,
are.
which is good.
Very exciting. I know
Very,
it's going to come around so quick now. I think it's 2 weeks roughly that starts beginning of September.
yeah,
Um. So
which will be
yeah.
great.
I'm
You can
sorry.
remind me. You can then remind me of all the stuff that I've covered and forgotten in
Yeah.
that, which is good.
God, I know. I'm very, very excited. It's come around really quick. When sign-ups opened back in June, I thought, yeah, it's fine. We've got months. Work will calm down by then. But I've got my routine, and again, it's having that routine. Like I know how it's going to fit into my routine, so that I can commit and give it what
Yeah,
it deserves, which is the same as like anything, whether it's training for the gym, studying, work. If you want it to work, it will.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
so
100%.
yeah,
Well, we've
very
got,
exciting.
and then 2 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah, that's also going to come around quick.
Yeah, it's the so if you know anybody who wants to, anybody who's listening to this, if you want to join the Shape Up program,
Yep.
it's 8 weeks of coaching, personalized programs, personalized nutrition, coaching all the way through, and accountability, all done through an app. If you want more information, drop us a message, get in touch, and we can also tell you how to sign up on that one. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and
Me too. Yeah.
look forward to you sort of
Bringing all my knowledge, guys.
bringing all your knowledge. Absolutely, it'd be good.
It
Right,
will.
I think
Absolutely.
I need to go to bed.
Yeah, I think you should. I'm going to the gym. I've got a leg session calling my name. So we are off there.
Right, well, I'll let you go and do your leg session.
Yeah, enjoy. Have a lovely early night.
Yes. Right then, guys, we'll catch you next week. It'll be normal time next week on the Friday. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend. And Alice, go and do like.
I will. See you later.
See you later. Bye.